Welcome, welcome, welcome to the SubHub podcast. I'm EmKay Sullivan.
And I'm Dani Moreno. And today, for the first time, which is way long overdue, we have the Cam Smith, American runner for DynaFit, joining us today to chat about more Skimo, I would say, than anything else. But being that EmKay and I are currently in our injury journeys as well, or our comeback journeys, Cam just has one of the most inspiring comeback journeys in the sport. And so we do spend our due diligence and we talk to him a lot about that as well.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard, I don't know how, maybe you're bricked to like Dani and I are on Instagram, but Cam Smith, along with Anna Gibson, who we have another episode with, recently qualified for the U.S. Olympic team in Skimo, which is a first time event here in the 2026 Olympics. And yeah, so it was really interesting to hear about Cam's journey because he's been in Skimo for quite a while and he kind of like encouraged Anna to join in order to help. But yeah, it is crazy that this is the first time we've had Cam on the podcast, given how much we talk about him.
Yeah, we're big Cam stans. But yeah, we'll have to bring him on for a more trail specific episode. We do touch a little upon his 2026 very tentative plans. I think for him and Anna both, they're going to all in on Olympics and then they have a rough idea of how the rest of the year is going to look. But yeah, we just had a great chat with Cam. He is such a sunshine in our sport, and we're excited for you to get to know him a little bit better. But before we get into it, I have been starting to bike a bit more, which is really exciting. Not every day, but I have also been starting to get the urge on my bike rides. Oh, I'm a little hungry. And so I've started to bring my bottles with some C30. I'm also a huge fan, like EmKay, of the forest berry. And so that has been it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, I feel like I'm training again versus I'm trying to get back to
Yeah,
training,
yeah,
that like step before, which feels quite good.
I totally agree. Right there with you. So if you guys want to check out Never Second, whether you're coming back from an injury like Dani and I, and you're just slamming the bike in the pool, or you're getting ready for any of the early season races that are about to happen, go check out the products at never2.com and use our code SUBHUB25 to get 25% off of all of your orders. But let's go listen to Cam Smith. Hey Cam, welcome to the SubHub podcast.
Hey, thanks, guys. Long time listener, first time caller. So yeah, hyped to chat with you guys.
Yes, we
Let's
are.
start off.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah, no, we're stoked. I was just gonna say, let's start off by you telling us like where you are right now.
Yeah, so I'm in Arèche, France. So this is where like Skimo folks will know from the Pierre Menta and running folks will know because it's the little hub that like Jim and Jess and Francois and a bunch of other crushers all live out of this just like sleepy little French mountain town with some amazing mountains around it, just doing some training between World Cup weekends.
And a little bit offline, I'd love for you to share this with the listeners as well. But like, how would you describe the culture around it and its place in the skimo sport world, specifically?
Yeah, this town is pretty unique. So again, it's this like quiet little town in like kind of a dark valley, surrounded by huge mountains in every direction. So we're a little south of Mount Blanc. You can see it from all the high points around here. And there's just a really well-established ski and skimo culture because partially because of this Pierre Menta race, and partially like the mountains are just amazing for it. Like they're steep and big, but the terrain itself is not incredibly complex. Like it's really well set up for skiing and ski touring. And it stays pretty cold. They get pretty good snow. So like it's just kind of a little hamlet for skiing and that makes it a really nice place to ski because there's tracks everywhere and other people out. And it's just like, yeah, a really good place to train. And when I have like based in Europe long term, this is where I've always gone. So it's a little more comfortable for me. Like know a few of the locals. Like I know my way around in the mountains. I know the
Really.
cafes and bakeries that I like, and yeah, just like it's nice to have a place that feels comfortable in Europe that I can go to between these weekends and sort of recharge a little bit.
Yeah, I've never been to Aresh in the wintertime, but I visited Jim and Jess there once in the summer and it was gorgeous.
Heck yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I bet you guys had an awesome time, like just hitting all
Yeah.
these trails and peaks, and they're
The
everywhere.
view the view of Mont Blanc from like the ridges up there is just like unreal.
Totally, so good. Yeah, such a an awesome spot. So yeah, like I said, just a really nice place to kind of unwind between race weekends and also do a bunch of skiing.
Yeah, I think it is kind of understated how important it is to have those spaces abroad. I mean, obviously, something we're all very gracious for, but to be able to have a relationship with a place like that where you do feel like it's a little home away from home. Admittedly, at times I'm like, oh, back to Chamonix. But when I'm there, I'm like, well, I know where everything is. And it's kind of
Totally,
nice.
yeah.
Like you have your rhythms. I know which gyms to go to and like where I get food and stuff. So it's really cool. You've had that relationship with that place. Speaking of which, when when did that start? Like we want to, before we get to the present, how did you get to Skimo? When did you first come upon that place and kind of give us a little bit walk into the past of Cam when he was just getting into Skimo?
Yeah, so I guess you could say I'll run with this and let me know what you think of like I got into the sport around 2014, wanting to do the Grand Traverse with my sister. So that goes from Crested Butte, Colorado to Aspen, this 40-mile kind of just backcountry traverse race that you do in teams of two. And my sister wanted to do it together when we were students at Western Colorado University. So that was kind of my intro to the sport. Started really inauspiciously of like DNF some races, finished last in some races, kind of worked my way up, and eventually I was there weren't that many young people doing the sport when I got started, so I was able to go to the World Championships in 2017 because I was basically the only U23 male that was trying to go. Then that gave me a taste of racing in Europe, started getting last place again now that I was racing in Europe and just kind of like built my way up from there. So started to get a little bit more competitive by like 18, 19, 20, and then didn't race internationally in 2021 and then came back over in 22. And that was sort of the start of like the modern era where I like popped off with a podium in a World Cup. That was sort of a big breakthrough for me. And that was kind of the moment of like, oh, I can compete with anyone in this sport, and like I am one of those top racers, at least on my right day. And then that was yeah, first time coming here to Arish as well, like racing the Pyramenta and just taking some little ski trips here. And then the next winter was when I moved here long term, but that was also the winter that I tore my ACL and went home early. So yeah, a little bit of a complicated kind of time frame there, but yeah, that's kind of how things got started. And around that time is when it was announced that Skimo would be in the Olympics as well. So then it was sort of a slow build to this crescendo that we've had the last few months as well. So yeah, it's been kind of a fun journey to reflect on of like really I was just doing this as a recreational athlete and like slowly kind of worked my way up, and before I knew it was yeah, competing at a higher and higher level, and then all of a sudden here we are. So it's yeah, kind of crazy to think about.
We really want to get into like the injury aspect of everything, especially given the timeline of how close it was to like the whole announcement of the Olympic thing. But I have a question about trail running for a second. Just
Yeah.
like because you've established yourself as one of the best VK runners in the world. Did that come after your like start with Skimo, or was it just something you did as training for Skimo and then you also ended up being pretty good at that? Like how do those two things mesh?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was definitely sort of the former of like I was racing Skimo and then started to find a lot more success with uphill running, which is hard to say a little bit because I wasn't trail racing a ton at the time. Like when I was in college, I mostly just raced mountain bikes because there was a really cool program for it that made it easy to race mountain bikes, which is kind of a crazy statement to say, but like the team for like $500, you could do the whole season and travel around and get your coaching and your registration, and like we would just camp at races and anyway, like I wasn't really trail running a bunch while I was in college, but I was getting into skimo and then kind of getting back into running. post college was like, oh, like I do kind of have a knack for these uphill events. And yeah, I think that totally came from just being able to train in that way of like you can log as much vert as you want all winter long, and like it's super strength based with the extra bit of weight that you're carrying around. And it just lets you like put so much into the training, and essentially just like, yeah, all you can do in the winter is climb. And so it gets you good at the uphill stuff. Cause like when I think back on like what my background is of like my 5K PRs like mid 16s, like there's high school teams that I wouldn't make it on right now. And like my like VO2 and like testing numbers aren't anything out of this world. Like I really don't have that much like objective talent, like whatever like metric you want to use, but like I keep showing up and having success on big stages. And I think a lot of that is a testament to like I'm able to push my body in a different way with like this super diverse training, and like I can put in big weeks and high intensity. And like there's weeks like 1 week in Arash where I climbed 84,000 feet of vertical of just like pushing a volume week. And it's like you can't do that on foot, or you'll do it on a treadmill and drive yourself absolutely insane. So yeah, I think the training has just worked really well for my body and like allowed me to punch above my weight a little bit in the summertime.
That's really cool. When oh dang. So Western, there's I like if my kid ever wants to go to Western, be like, yes, all the nicest people come from Western. Just everyone I know who's a Western grad is so nice. Were you also on the did Josh Eberly already have the trail team at that time? And were you a part of that?
Yeah, he kind of got that going probably between my like sophomore and junior year.
Cool.
Um, and then so basically for like most of the sports, like I said, it was like $500 to do the team. And then if as you added sports, it was like plus $100, and then like maxed out after two sports. So basically for $600, you could do as many of these things as you wanted. So like I would race bikes all fall, and then there'd be like the Moab half at the end of the year. And I'd be like, oh, like Josh, can I like come along for the trip for this? And he'd be like, yeah, sure. So it wasn't something I did frequently, but like there was kind of always an open door, and so it was great to like have Josh and the team there. And so I didn't actually like run a lot with the Jeshrins and the Cades and like all the people that came out of that program, but I did a little bit, and then yeah, I was definitely like glad that the program was there.
That's cool. I thought it was really cool how you just expressed your like, perhaps on paper in quotations, like you're not gonna pick me because, 16 mid 5K VO2 is maybe not what is supposed to be one of the best uphill runners in the world or Skimo Olympian. Like to me, that is such a self-empowering statement. Like even the way you delivered it, like just 110 belief that you're like, but I can work in other ways. Were you always like that, or did that come through like injury, or you're just like, I just like to be outside and I can tell that these are my attributes? Like, how did you get to that point mentally?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think, I mean, a lot of it is innate from the standpoint of just a sense of curiosity, in that I just wanted to see what was possible and what I could do. So when you think back, that really started with high school running of what can I do? Can I run in college? Can I go to state meets? And the answer was no for both of those, for example. But like, how fast can I go in the mile? How much can I do in this and that? And then when running stopped with going to college, it was like, okay, like let's just try these sports recreationally and just see what's possible. And I think I just made a career out of like trying to find out how far I can go, and just not wanting like an injury, for example, to be the end of. I didn't want it to be like, oh, I got hurt, so like now this journey's over. It's like, no, like let's find the limit. Let's find out how far that potential can go. And that doesn't end with this either. It's not like, oh, sweet, we went to the Olympics and now it's over. It's like this is just the next thing. And like I have no idea what the next 10 years will hold, but I guess I've just always been driven by that curiosity of wanting to like find out where the limit is. And I think that that's true of a lot of people is if you just keep showing up, yeah, you never know where you can end up. So yeah, I think I'm just in the middle of that.
Well, I guess this is kind of like a good transition into your your injuries that you had in 2023 and 2024 because like you said, just keep showing up and that's like exactly what you did despite tearing your ACL and your meniscus, having a shoulder surgery, some concussions. So, I guess Dani might have a little bit more specific questions on this because I know that she was like you're like her hero right now. I think I could say that. I think she said that out loud to Anna the other day. So yeah, just tell us like I guess what that mindset looks like because there are so many people out there in this sport and in your, Skimo that do have these like injuries that take them out for a long time and you just keep coming back and it's very impressive. So we just want to hear a little bit about how you work through like those down years.
Yeah, thanks you guys. And you both individually have always been so supportive and hyped, like when I do show back up at the start line the next year. And I've always appreciated that big time. So thank you. And then you're in it right now, both of you to different extents. And it's just something that we will all go through and maybe just more times for certain people and bigger obstacles for some people. But I mean, like I had actually a couple shoulder surgeries in 2018 and 2019. So like being laid up with an injury wasn't new, but when you get the news about like an ACL meniscus and you look down at your balloon of a leg, it's like there's certainly a sense of wondering like can this leg ever run, jump, ski, cut again? And do I want it to? Like I remember driving back from the race that I got hurt at back to Irish to get packed up, where shout out Jim and Jess like essentially packed up my entire apartment and cleaned it for me and moved me down the 200 stairs back to the car. But that's a whole nother tangent. Like I remember like driving back over this pass and like seeing ski tracks and like shuddering of like, oh, like that's not something I'm ever doing again because then you can have an injury like this and this is the worst thing ever. And it like felt so low in that moment. It felt so far away. And this is like, you still have to get all these doctor appointments lined up to schedule a surgery and like find someone that will take you and find someone that you actually want to sign the right away to like open your knee up and rearrange it. And it's like, there's so much more to it just than the time. And then like I had an awesome surgery team at Stedman, which was super fortunate and like started this whole recovery process. And I remember saying a lot like, yeah, like I don't know if I'll compete again, but like I'm gonna try. Like I'm curious what the end is. Like I might go through this rehab and be unable to do these things without pain and be unable to do these things at a high level again. And then I will have found that limit that we talked about before. But like I gotta find where that limit is, and I don't know where it is. So I kept saying like, yeah, like I'm trying, I'm trying. Like I don't know if I'll compete again. But meanwhile, like the days after surgery, I was timing how long it took me to crutch around the block. Like when I would go out for my like daily walk of like, oh sweet, like 7:15, like I took 8 seconds off today. Like, nice. And so that's when I realized like, okay, like this is innate. This is part of who I am. Like I love competition and like seeing what I'm capable of. Like my words are saying one thing, but my actions were definitely saying another. And like there's just so many dark moments that come with that long of a rehab and with so much uncertainty. And my wife Lynn was just there for every step of the way. Of she had gone through the same injury actually playing college soccer, and it was a big part of why she became a PT. So she's not only like my partner in life, but also like a wizard of a physical therapist. So it's like I definitely this was accountable to her in that way of like she just like she knew how much this all meant to me and like basically gave me the instruction manual on like if the biggest thing that you care about is getting back to sport, like here's exactly how to do it. And it'll take like 3 to 4 hours a day of rehab and like canceling this plan and like dedicating a year of your life to it. But like here's how to do it. And she wasn't the only PT I worked with. Like I had such a big team around me, but like there's a big accountability piece there if she just like knew for me that I didn't want to give up. So even if I had said that it was over, like she knew better. And like it was this whole year-long process, like super difficult, lots of low moments, like scratched my way back, started racing again with a vertical race in Andorra the following January, and then the next morning tore up my shoulder in a weightlifting accident. And then like there's I've had a hard time like telling this part of the story cohesively because it's kind of confusing. Like it dislocated, I put it back in. I was like, okay, maybe that wasn't a big deal. Like maybe everything's gonna be fine. And then that weekend dislocated it during a race and crashed and hit my head and like everything happened at once. I'm like, okay, like I'm back at the bottom. And that was actually a way harder injury to come back from because I had just spent a year doing it and then I had had less than 24 hours of freedom before it like happened again. And so this was more of a 6 month recovery than a 12 month, but like I was so low after that of like, if this is what sports are like I don't want to be part of it. But again, it was just this sense of like, I have to find where the limit is. And like a bad shoulder press can't be the answer, right? Of like, I just had to find out what was possible. And so that really motivated me. Like once I came around post shoulder, and that was a lot easier to rehab from because I could Zwift and treadmill walk as much as I wanted. And so I was at least able to like maintain fitness a little better than post ACL when I was just like hand biking and like Nordic sit skiing for a while. But anyway, like made my way back from there and then have just like yeah, been so appreciative of being healthy ever since and have had such a good run since then that I'm really grateful for. And yeah, that's kind of led into this Olympic process. So I've sort of lost track of the question, but basically like I wanted to give up a lot of times, but just relying on Lynn and like her knowing me better than I knew for myself at a lot of times of like we gotta find out where the end is and like it might not be that much further than here, but you have to at least try. And then now the end continues to get pushed into the future and I still don't know where it stops.
Yeah, that definitely resonates for sure. The second one, hard for sure. How like because how much time did you have from when you started racing again to when you got that second injury?
That was like the I raced like midday on a Sunday and then got hurt on Monday morning.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
was like that
Okay.
night was really fun. It was like, sweet, I'm back. Like
Yeah.
I like went to bed in a good mood that night, and then it was like 8 a.m. the next morning that I was, yeah, trying to reduce the shoulder dislocation in the gym.
Yeah. I'm really grateful you had Lynn. We've heard a little bit about Lynn too from Anna Gibson talking to her, and she just sounds like an amazing woman. But yeah, it's your support team truly, because even Olympians like Cam Smith have had those hard goes, and it's really helpful to have yourself and people around you that like know what's at stake. If you would you give yourself any advice back then? Like, let's say the second injury.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but people gave me so much good advice that I just wasn't ready for at the time. Like I hated hearing you'll come back stronger or like, oh, this made me really motivated to get in the gym and now I'm better for it. Or one day you'll be grateful for the lessons you learned. And I hated hearing that. So it's like, yeah, sure, you like got back to mountain biking. Like I was already doing these things and I'm like trying to do this professionally. But like everyone that told me things like that was so right all along. I still am not necessarily like, or I'm certainly not like grateful that it happened. Like it was a terrible time period and like yeah, I wish it hadn't happened. Like it sucked. But um I was determined. I guess like that advice that shifted was like for a long time I was determined not to let it define me. It's like, all right, we're gonna get past this and move on and like flush it. But like it has defined me. Like it is who I am and like that's a part of my story and like the person and athlete that I am and will be for the rest of my life is like because of those experiences. And so like maybe I should be grateful from that perspective, but I guess the advice would be like, let it define you, like be the comeback kid, like, yeah, fight through it. And um, yeah, just find out where you can go, you know?
I like that you say it both ways though, that you're like, let it define you, but also I wish it hadn't happened. Cause like, yeah, I feel like people are like, oh, but you're better for it. And you're like, yeah, it still doesn't mean it was fun. Like I didn't
Yeah.
didn't have a good time. So I appreciate the honesty there. And I think like last question from me about this injury before we can kind of like move on to current day Olympics is like timeline wise, when you found out that Skimo was going to be in the Olympics and like when you got hurt, were those kind of like around the same time or like were you already on the comeback when you found out that this was going to be an Olympic sport?
Yeah, that's a good question to clarify too. So I guess like timing wise, in 2021 they said this is going to be in the Olympics. 2022 they kind of confirmed sprint relay, this is how many athletes and all that. And then that or those 2 years were when like people started to really focus on the sprint internationally.
Yeah.
And like I guess a good example there is like the top 30 racers make it into the heats of a World Cup. Like you qualify and you go from 100 or however many racers start down to 30. And I used to always make the heats because also it'd be like 40 people started instead of 100. And I would always make the heats and race a little bit and like move my way up. And then like I started to like get more dialed in with the specifics of the sprint race. And I didn't make it into the heats for like 2 years because the rest of the world was like, all right, this is the Olympic discipline. We're all in. We have youth programs dedicated to this. We're training for this sport 12 months a year. Like the level just totally changed on the World Cup. But basically, where I was at in 2022 was I was like, man, like I'm not that passionate about the sprint and mixed relay. Like I want to be out in the mountains, do big days, and like I'm going to keep doing that. And then I'll just participate in the sprint and relay, and it'll probably be good enough to make it to the Olympics. And I'll like check that box. It'll be really cool. And then like I'll just kind of stay on the path that I'm on. And then essentially missed 2 years of competition, came back, and like the world that I came back to was so drastically different as far as that level that had like gone up in 2 years while I essentially was stagnant of like, wow, this is a different world. Like I will not make it into this without being super specialized and racing at a really high level. Like I definitely need to make this priority number one in order to just like have a shot to qualify. So like the level had changed a bunch in those couple of years. And then what also shifted or a couple things there was like all of that kind of gym time and rehab like really kind of set me up for these sprint and relay disciplines because I essentially like took a year to like try to improve in the gym. Like that's like what ACL rehab is. And like you'd forget about training volume and aerobic time and all that. Like because anything like that is taking away from strength gains. And like my priority had to be like how strong can I make my quad right now? And like going for a 4 hour bike ride like doesn't help your quad get bigger. So anyway, like the rehab sort of set me up in that way, which was really cool. And then like I started racing these events for like winter 24, 25, and totally shifted my mindset too of like the sprint and relay are fun and exciting and cool to watch and fun to race and fun to train for. And like it feels good to like feel peppy bouncing up the stairs and like be able to like race a 2 minute climb hard instead of being like intimidated by how short it is. So yeah, like that really shifted too. And then like really enjoyed last winter, and then that led us into this current one. So yeah, the injuries like played a really funny role, like timing wise in that way for sure.
Um, I had a couple thoughts while you were saying all of that. The first one being the 2 year, like coming back after 2 years. And I think the same is in trail running now too. Like the sport is just getting so much better, so much faster. I just had a friend, Katie Asmith, who lives here in Mammoth, had almost 2 years off, and she came back and she was like, "Whoa, what happened while I was gone?" So I can
Totally,
imagine,
yeah.
yeah. And so I can imagine a sport like Skimo where it's like this is an Olympic sport now, and like you said, all the countries putting the resources into it, and it probably just changed drastically. So I thought that was interesting. And then the strength for a year. One of the athletes I really look up to is Nell Rojas. I don't know if you know her. She's like a road marathoner.
Yeah, a little
But
bit.
but before she was like kicking ass at Boston, she was like a full CrossFit athlete. And I always think about her and like how much strength she gained before she was multiple top tens at Boston. And like being in an injury right now that you were just in, not the same injury, but you get what I'm saying. I feel like the gym, you can actually make more gains for our sports than you realize sometimes. Were you working with a strength specific coach or was it all PT?
It was all PTs, but they have like strength and conditioning certifications. Like they're essentially trained as strength and conditioning coaches. Like that's a whole nother tangent. Like obviously I'm biased with Lynn, but PTs like wear so many different hats and are like
Yeah.
so professional and they're literal doctors now. Like you have to
Yeah.
have a doctorate to be a PT and they're like not paid like that. And like it's such a hard job day to day. But anyway, yes, like I was just working with PTs, but like they are strength coaches. So yeah.
That's so cool. So you get back, you realize you have to go all in, and I probably assume you expected this transition at some point. And it's for the sprint relay, but it's a mixed relay. When did you start the recruitment process, or like, did you already have people in mind at that point?
Yeah, so great question. So like Anna has been like a name that I've talked about for a long time of like when is she gonna try Skimo? And like part of why I hadn't talked to her about it before was is like, well, clearly she's thought about it and she hasn't reached out. So like she's focused on the fact that she's one of the best runners in the world and she's doing that instead, which is great. And we go through basically the whole qualification process for the Olympics in the mixed relay was 7 World Cups. 6 of them happened last winter, so 24, 25, and then one happened December of 25, so part of this season. And so we were 6/7 of the way through the qualification period, and we were essentially like tied for the last spot in with Canada. Like it's a little more complicated than that, but that's where we were. And Canada had Emma Cook Clark, who like totally shifted the paradigm on her head by being an absolute beast. And like, yeah, we were just trying to like find more talented athletes to add to the team, like male, female, whatever. And like basically kind of my thought was like, we're so close to this, like we're 50-50. We went back and forth with the Canadian team all winter, like how can we get better in any possible way? So part of that was like we were doing team training camps over the summer and getting together and working on the skills and like we were more focused going in, but like everyone was doing that. Like the Canadians got a lot better too. And so like one of those questions when like kind of turning over every stone was like, well, can we add talented athletes to the team? Again, like male, female, whatever. And it's like Anna was always kind of that name in the back of my mind of like who is the prototype athlete. But again, like, and as the story goes, and like people might have heard this before, like I was super nervous to talk to her about it because it's like obviously she hasn't reached out and like has this whole other career. And then again, Lynn kept pushing me to like, if you think there's any chance Anna makes the team 1% better and makes like the relay team or the chances of qualifying for the Olympics 1% better, like why would you not ask? Like that's a percent. And I thought Anna was worth more than that. So it's like, okay, you're right, you're right, you're right. So like finally talked to her at Broken Arrow weekend over the summer and like just credit to her for being willing to like jump into this massive uncertainty and just like knowing that there was a golden opportunity in front of us that might work out or might not. Again, with so many unknowns between that moment and where we are now. And she like took the risk and I mean, yeah, you hosted her on the podcast. I haven't heard that yet, but yeah, obviously it turned out the way it did. So like credit to her for taking the leap.
Yeah, I mean, Anna Gibson is like, I mean, anybody who has followed her journey or just like listened to her on our podcast the few times that we've had her on, like, she's a trail runner, she's a track runner. She's probably going to be an incredible road runner when she decides to do it. She's a biker, a very good biker. So I'm like not
Yeah.
surprised at all that she was like, yeah, why not? I'll do Skimo. I've been skiing my whole life, you know? But it's, we, yeah, we asked her the same, her side of the story. So And she was like huge credit to Lynn for like basically making sure that Cam got this done.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's, you can go, anyone can go on all day about like Anna can do this and do that. And same with Lynn and like all of her involvements with all this. But like, I think some of my favorite, like, sort of, like you could call them stats is like Anna is a faster 1500-meter runner than me and also a better downhill skier. So it's like, yeah, I'm the Skimo racer, but like she's been building up to this like her entire life and like has skills that I don't. So yeah, it's just like it's really cool that everything worked out the way it did for sure.
That's cool. Well, we did ask her this question, and you were kind of sharing some stuff, so I think it's perfect time for it. What is something about Anna, your Olympic sprint relay partner, that people may not know about?
Oh boy. Let's see. Um,
Or something you just want to share about her?
yeah. I think like what this is just like raving again. It's not like a fun fact that she like knows how to juggle with her eyes closed or something. But I think like what surprised me the most about her joining the team was the first time she came to a team camp and like met anyone else other than me. It was like a weekend long camp in Utah. And I was late, essentially, like I was working the day before and driving over. And so she was gonna like be there for the first couple hours without me. And I was like nervous about that. It's like, oh, like Anna probably needs me to like feel comfortable. Like she's gonna go like hang out with a bunch of strangers and like I'm her only friend. So like I gotta like hustle there. Like I better yeah, get there because like I just set her up in this terrible situation. And I get there and it's basically like me, Anna, and like all the juniors, like all the like 17, 18, 19-year old like junior racers. And she's like already best friends with all of them like 2 hours in. And the just like the vibe that she brings to our team in that way of like she's not too cool to like ask all the high schoolers all about themselves and like genuinely wants to be their friend and know more about them and like make them feel seen and heard. And then I showed up and like I couldn't even like insert myself in the conversation because she was like busy talking to all of her new buddies. I just think is like a really cool anecdote to like the kind of like teammate that she is too, like not just the athlete.
Yeah, and she told us that that the teenagers were also teaching her how to do transitions. So she's not too proud to like
Yeah,
let a bunch of like high school and young college kids like help her out, which is nice.
totally. Yeah.
So this is obviously like a lifelong dream to make an Olympic team. So what are you most looking forward to in the upcoming Olympics?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, great question and then terrible answer of like so much of it was we were just focused on qualifying. Like that was such a big unknown for us that once we did, there was like no plan of like how we were going to train for it, what we were going to do logistically. Like the coaches and everything like had all this stuff ready for us. But like Anna and I weren't privy to anything. And so like it's only been, I guess, a little more than a month now since then. And so like it's been a lot to process quickly. But I think the coolest thing has just been, and like so what I've appreciated already and what I'm looking forward to is just how far this has reached. Of like it's the same thing that Anna and I've been doing. Like we just go race, we try to achieve whatever we can in running, skiing, biking, whatever. But just because it's attached to something that's like bigger than sport, like this is something that brings the world together and celebrates unity and peace in the best of times at least or ideally and like showcases the great things that the Olympics does of human potential and cooperation and all the beautiful things about it and then also like the attention that it receives as a result of like the people that have just gotten stoked about it, like high school coaches and high school friends that I haven't talked to since then that are like stoked about it. And they should be like they helped like raise me as an athlete and then now like I'm doing this. And so it's just really cool. Like that's like one small anecdote of like how many people this has involved. And it's just something that's such a gift to be able to share in that way of like it's harder to contextualize like oh I got third at Broken Arrow, it was really cool and like no one's heard of trail running before But now that it's like the Olympics, it's like everyone just feels so proud and excited about it and are like scheduling watch parties and like I had two different kind of like surprise parties while I was at home and
Oh.
like I just heard that people are dressing up as me, like a big group for the like local Nordic ski race. And it's just like fun how excited everyone is and just like pumped that it's kind of something we all did together. So like, I mean, there's certainly minutia of what'll happen over in Italy of meeting kind of the idol athletes like Jesse Diggins or Michaela Schifrin or something and like receiving the uniforms and like walking in the ceremonies and all that will be like super cool and I'll remember it forever. But like so far, it's just been exciting to like see how far the Stoke has reverberated and like super humbling and like, yeah, it makes me excited to just keep going. Cause like we're only not even halfway there. Like all we did was qualify and like the whole thing hasn't even happened yet. And there's already all this excitement. So like, yeah, I'm just pumped about that.
Yeah, I mean, you said it beautifully. That is so, so cool. The Olympics truly do that. And I feel like it's true, like you said, you're not even at the Olympics yet. This is just the beginning. And I'm just so excited for, little American, boys and girls and everyone involved seeing and be like, wow, maybe I can do that one day, and feel inspired by like, I like to ski. Maybe I could be an Olympian skimo mountaineer. So yeah, that's really cool. And Anna shared this as well, like how much of a collaborative effort it was to qualify you guys.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
and that everyone was stoked. Like it felt like a whole team feat. So that's so cool to just hear how many people were involved to make this happen.
For sure. Yeah, like it's just awesome that we got the job done for all those people that made such big contributions, like whether they were the athletes racing. Like essentially, we had three different men and three different women earn points over this period, and only Anna and I will get to race. But like six of us actually earned this together, like physically, let alone the people supporting those individuals, let alone the team, let alone everyone that's had a touch point in all this of like and it all could have gone so differently based on like a 30-minute race in December. And so I'm just really glad that we like got across the finish line for all these people and yeah, that like people and like young kids can see like, oh, check out this cool new sport of something that I like. And literally, if you're a kid that says you like skiing and you're 12, like you're further ahead of me than I was when I was 12. Like I'm literally just some guy that got into this like in early adulthood and like I'm doing this now. So like yeah, I mean the sky's the limit for kids in the future too. So it's yeah, just awesome to be a part of. It's been such a fun journey.
Well, we're incredibly stoked for both of you. Dani and I will have our own watch party virtually because we don't live in the same place, but we'll try.
Like, yeah,
Um,
sorry about the time change.
oh, it's okay. We
Yeah,
we
you'll be
do this all the
anyway.
time, so
Yeah.
but after all, this is a trail running podcast, so we have to ask you, what are your trail plans for 2026, if anything, or are we just for now Olympics celebration and then see what happens?
Yeah, so I'm still working through it a bit just because this has been so all-encompassing lately. But I definitely want to do the Golden Trail series. I want to see the calendar come out and everything before I make any commitments because it's sort of something that I want to be all in or all out about. Like I either want to go for it or maybe just not make yeah travel around for it otherwise. So yeah, I'm excited about the idea of the Golden Trail series. Barring that, like Anna definitely has gotten me stoked about Zagama, which is the worst race for skiers, with it being in May, which is usually when I like start running. But she just got me hyped about it, like talking about her experience. So I guess I'm rambling, but like the only things that I have on my calendar for sure are Broken Arrow and the Rut, which is just my favorite race, and I'm not going to miss it for anything else anyway. And hopefully the Golden Trail series fills that in. Maybe an exciting one like a Zagama or Zanol. I do want to go back to work this summer. Like I really just missed my job, honestly. So it'll be a bit of like how much time off can I get? Um, and then I also have a little bit more freedom in the sense of my summer had to be sort of tailored towards Skimo goals the last few years, and then now I won't have that same objective pressure. And so I can do longer races, for example. I'm definitely OCC curious, but there's nothing literally scheduled except for Broken Arrow and the Rut. So TBD.
Are you qualified for OCC this year?
No, so yeah, I guess I then was recently educated about that, that maybe I could qualify for next year. But yeah, I'm definitely curious about kind of like the 50K to a little bit longer races because that's kind of what I think I'm a little bit more predisposed to. I just haven't had the chance to show it the last few years. So yeah, maybe down the road, but yeah, curious about it all for sure.
That's exciting. I think that's a great schedule. And we are also waiting on the Golden Trail World Series calendar.
Yeah.
So
Come on.
yeah, Greg, people are waiting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, I will plan to be at Broken Arrow. EmKay is tentative right now. But yeah, the Broken Arrow, the Rut, I mean, you are a Hall of Famer at both now. Like they need to have your picture on like some giant posters because Cam is tried and true at both of those events. So it's really exciting.
Oh, thanks for saying so. Yeah, I mean, I just love both those weekends and yeah, pumped to do both, and then I'll just fill in the rest.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We will have to have you back on for a more trail specific podcast at some point. But just huge congrats again to you and Anna and becoming the first American Skimo Olympians ever. Just, I'm sure
Thanks
that's
so much,
still
you
sitting
guys.
in. That's so cool.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still processing it all. And yeah, I'm excited to talk in the spring, and then I'll like actually mention races that I'm eligible to do and stuff, and have a real plan, which right now is so disorganized. So yeah,
We can't
excited
wait.
for dirt to come along before too long.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for coming on, and we'll be watching. So,
Thanks so much, you guys.
Thanks.
all right, this has been the Sub Hub.
Hub.
Jeez.